What is going on, guys? Welcome back to W.D.Y.D. CSP. What do you do as a central sterile processor? Alright guys, today we're going to continue with retractor care and maintenance. And what you're seeing here is a partially assembled Bookwalter tray. That's right, this is probably one of the most common self-retaining abdominal retractors that you will see in your facility. This is kind of a preview of what it would look like, kind of assembled in a basic form, right? All right, so let's go ahead and take this apart, and I will go through all the components of it. So just taking the blades off of the ring with the actual adapters there. Okay, I'm just showing you how it might look. You have two different types of adapter clamps on there, or tilts they call them. Okay, gonna take the ring off here. Okay, you have to unscrew to remove the ring. Then you have the ring post there, or the ring bar. And then you have your table post or your table clamp. Okay, there are some other components to this retractor as well. And again, this may vary from facility to facility as to what type of attachments and how many rings and how many different blades and etc., etc. So let's go ahead and go through all of these attachments, taking them out of the container and organizing them, so that we can go through them here. So there's a extension bar there. Let's go ahead and place all the retractor blades off to the side here. And I apologize if some of these blades and some of these components are off screen right now. I am in an overhead view here, unable to really focus or zoom in or zoom out for that matter, so that you guys can see this a little bit better here. All right, there's the different ring sizes there. Again, these are solid rings. You might have some sets that have sectionated rings that you can actually angle and take apart, but this is pretty much the whole spread here. Again, it varies from facility to facility. Simply put, this set alone is a pretty heavy set, so be mindful of the weight of your set, because the actual table posts and the ring posts, that extension bar, those components alone can make a tray weigh over 25 pounds, and we want to keep our trays as close to 25 pounds and under as we can. So just be mindful. Okay, you have the bracket clamps there, or the bar clamps. You have the different blade attachments, or the blade assembly clamps there. You have tilting and standard. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the different types of blades here. So you have malleable blades here. Okay, one of the most important steps here in inspecting, aside from cleanliness, is for that solder point there. This solder point is often seen as being cracked on the field, because when you manipulate this blade back and forth, again, you're going to put stress on that weld point, and you may see the weld point cracking, or the blade detaching from the actual handle. That one there was damaged, so we're going to put that off to the side. Okay, you have the smaller ones, same thing. Any malleable type retractor blades, you want to definitely look at the weld points. Make sure that there's no cracks or any corrosion actually there too, because that weld point probably didn't get treated as well. Okay, so that's one inspection point there, making sure that there are no cracks at the weld point there. And this is for all your retractor blades, but specifically your malleable retractor blades. Okay, Yeah, there's another crack right there, so we're going to put that one off to the side. Okay, you have your Balfour type retractor blades or your bladder type blades. Okay, you want to inspect for cleanliness, looking at those ridges there, make sure that they're nice and clean. Okay, Harrington or your Sweetheart retractors, if you have a lip on there, you want to look at those weld points as well. Make sure that they're intact. No bioburden collecting in those little wedges there. Okay, they call it the Sweetheart retractor because guess what? Looks like a heart, don't it? Alright, all of your ratchets, they call them ratchets, or I call them the blade attachments or the blade assemblies. You have springs, you have screws, you have tilting functions to it. You want to make sure that all of that is smooth. Springs are in place. Any screws, make sure that they're not loose, especially if you're placing this device through the ultrasonic. It is very notorious to have some of those screws come loose. So make sure you're inspecting that for any devices that may have to go out for repair. Check the spring mechanisms, make sure that they're not cracked. Okay, and of course, always follow the count sheet to see and make sure that you have the right amount of tilting versus standard ratchets there, because again, it does matter. Okay, also if you're having different types, as you can see, these are two different types from two different manufacturers here. So one has screws, other has pins. Okay, continuing with your inspection for cleanliness and for function. Definitely. Okay. All right. Can't emphasize enough of those little pins and screws. I've seen so many of them come through where the screws are about to fall off, where the springs are missing. Okay, your extension bar, if you're using one, some of these extension bars are hollow. So if they are hollow, you definitely want to clean inside. Now, I don't know what size brush you would use to actually clean the inside of that hollow tube. Or if they make one long enough, but I'm pretty sure there is one out there in the market. If it's hollow, you need to clean the inside of that lumen device. Make sure that there's no soils, but I've been seeing them solid lately, or they're hollow, but they're sealed. Okay, the actual post for the ring, make sure that the coupler actually slides on there nice and smooth. There shouldn't be no rough edges there. You should be able to slide that in with no problem. It should fit. Okay, so just make sure. This is an oil point here, so you want to make sure that you open and close the actual ring guard there. Okay, you might want to sit there and lubricate the actual ridges here, okay, or where your torque area. Okay, apply some lubrication, and then right there at the distal tip as well, get a nice little squirt in there, and then manipulate, open and close the device to make sure that it's nice and smooth, and you're going to prolong the life of this device. Always blot off the excess if you don't have time for it to air dry. If you apply too much, that's going to take a long period of time. If you have any pooling, again, blot it. Do not wipe it off, blot it off, okay, after you've worked it into the entirety of that device. Okay, now the table post tells you to lubricate. There is a lubrication point. There's a little hole there. Okay, there are 4 screws. Make sure those 4 screws are in place, that they're not uplifted, that they're flush with the plate. Again, no chips or bends or any kind of damage to the shaft there. The actual opening and closing lever is a retracting or a collapsing type post. Make sure, again, that the couplings ride smoothly along the table post, that there's no rough edges or anything stopping it from going up and down. Again, you want to oil or you want to lubricate, it is easier. You can use the instrument milk and spray in there, or grab a syringe and draw some up and squirt it into that nice little hole, or you can use the silicone based oil there and just get a nice little drop in there. Again, don't overdo it, because you don't want this spilling all over the container or in the tray and making it look like a wet pack. Again, work that lubrication into all the grooves by operating the device, opening and closing it, okay, and blotting off the excess, not wiping, blotting it off, and so you don't defeat the purpose here. Okay, you also have the little spin point there where your nozzle, you want to grab your instrument milk and you want to spray that area as well, again to reduce any friction. Okay, and again, manipulate it, work it in, work that lubrication into the joints there, so it can be nice and smooth during operation and at point of use. All right, let's put that off to the side. Let's go on to the rings here. There are 3 rings in this set. Again, you want to make sure that there's no adhesive, no blood on any area of this ring. Sometimes they use adhesive or little tapes to identify. You want to make sure that you remove all those. Those are 3 ring sizes there. Looking at each teeth or the grooves within the teeth to make sure that there's no blood in those grooves. Because again, those retractor ratchets are hooked up on there. If you're grabbing them with dirty gloves or bloody gloves, it is possible to see some soil on there. All right, so again, each facility may have different size rings, different configurations of this basket here, so just make sure that you're following the IFU of your facility. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and organize this tray here, and then show you what it'll look like after it's organized. Again, each facility does it differently. Now the coupling, some couplings come apart, some of them do not. Okay, again, check with your facility and how they're going to go into the container. Okay, these couplings do come apart. Just make sure that when you're putting it together and inspecting it, that you have the right components. Okay, make sure you have the top and bottom half and not 2 bottom halves, because sometimes I see that the actual post comes off on the top and not the bottom. So just be careful with that. Okay, make sure that the handle to tighten is smooth. Sometimes I see that bent on the field. They'll torque it too hard and bend it, and then you can't slide it through to unlock it properly. So check on that as well. And if you see any discrepancies, of course, you're going to send this set out for repair. All right, all the little ratchets there, I like keeping them in the open position, just so that steam penetration can touch all areas of the ratchet there. Okay, give it a final little lubrication there to make sure that it's moving and operating freely. Okay, and again, just making sure that you have all the parts that's listed in that count sheet, placing in the tray neatly. Okay, your retractor blades, okay, just go by sizes here and different styles. Okay, you want to organize them as such and place them neatly in the tray, okay, as I'm doing right now, and I will show you what that looks like. Finishing up the last organization there. Okay, grabbing all my non-malleable type retractors, and the ones that are malleable, if they're overly manipulated, you want to straighten them out, okay, as best as possible without damaging the actual integrity of the weld point. So just be careful how you're bending this back in place so that you can put it in the tray nice and organized as such. Okay, and this is your Bookwalter retractor. Care and handling and how to organize it in its tray. Again, each facility is different, guys. I can't say that enough. Okay. All right, guys. As always, stay true to yourselves. Keep it 100. Continue educating yourself. Until next time. Peace.